2 years ago, the average cost of a house in this country was $215,000. Today it's $400,000. And the interest rates you're going to pay on that house have gone from 1% to 7%. So you're paying 10 times as much for that house you were 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. I have 7 kids. They're all between 20, 35 years old. They should be moving into their own homes. Mm-hmm. But I don't know any of them or any of their friends who are actually buying a home now. And one of the reasons for why did the price of housing go up? Well, one, because of the inflation, because we spent $8 trillion on wars and $16 trillion on COVID, which we didn't have. So they print money, which caused the price of everything to go up. More importantly, there's 3 giant corporations, BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard, which own, collectively, they own each other, so it's really one giant corporation. But they also own 89% of the S&P 500. They own everything. They've now decided to buy every single family home in America. So if they stay on the current trajectory, they will own 60% of the homes in this country, single family homes, by 2030. They literally are trying to buy everything. And the head of it, Larry Fink, the CEO of BlackRock, is on the board of the World Economic Forum, and what they've said, we want this great reset, which is you will own nothing and you will be happy. Well, they're on their way to making sure that we don't own anything. So you all probably have heard of people who are about to buy a home, and somebody comes in at the last minute with a cash offer and snatches it out of the market. Right. And it's usually an LLC with an ambiguous name. But if you trace that up, you'll find it's owned by BlackRock. Wow. And because they have a huge bank book, the cost of money and interest in them is tiny, which means they can outcompete your children. Well, your kids do not have a chance to buy that home because they can't outcompete BlackRock.
I'm going to use data from ReVenture to show you the cities in America with the most housing price cuts. Access this data, we hit the metric price cut percentage, and then look for the areas in the darkest red. You can see the first one that sticks out is Phoenix, where 37% of sellers are currently cutting the price. That's the highest of any metro in America. We're also seeing a lot of price cuts in Florida, where metros like Tampa have a 34% price cut rate. Price cuts are also getting high in Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina, and North Carolina, particularly in Charlotte, where 25% of sellers are cutting the price. Access that price cut data for your city and zip code at www.reventure.app under a premium plan.
Don't let American media fool you. They got some money out here in Southeast Asia. For some reason, most Americans believe that people in so-called third world countries are all living in shacks. Meanwhile, they're living in beautiful apartment buildings and driving pretty nice cars just like you are in the United States. There are plenty of people living in what you might call a third world country, living great lifestyles, and maybe even better than you.
Which one's the best crypto asset? Well, Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Okay. What's the second best? There is no second best. There's no second best crypto asset. There's a crypto asset. It's called Bitcoin, right? Right? There's no second best. Okay. It's not like Google and Facebook. It's not like Apple and Amazon. Yeah. We can debate Apple or Amazon. What's better? They both look like tech monopolies to me. They both look pretty good. On the other end, Bitcoin or no, Bitcoin. Bitcoin's crypto asset. This entire idea of like 60% dominance is bullshit, ridiculous, stupid, right? Like, it's stupid. It's not 60% dominant. It's like 96% or 95% dominant, right? If you compare it as a crypto asset to a like kind of proof of work crypto network, right? That's meant to be a store of value. You know, you're lucky if you can scrape together 5% of other stuff in the last bucket. So there is no real competitor.
More bad news for Canada. It looks like China just imposed a 100% tariff on select Canadian imports. And this is just moments after Trump announced a possible 250% tariff that is supposed to go into effect possibly as soon as Monday. Why is this all happening? Canada has a super weak Liberal. I mean, it's looking so bad for Canada that Canada's Liberal Party is supposed to elect a new leader this weekend to replace Justin Trudeau, who is the current Prime Minister of Canada, because of the issues that they have confronting Donald Trump. So why is China going after Canada? Well, Canada first imposed a 100% tariff on any China-based EV vehicle that is imported into Canada. China did not like that. And again, China is a big dog. Canada is not. They said, you want to play these games? We'll play them. And now China is imposing a 100% tariff on Canadian imports. This is another great example of when you have a weak leader, you will 100% not be taken seriously, you'll get taken advantage of, and very quickly the liberal parties are there to replace you.
Mark Zuckerberg's only rich, not because he started Facebook, but because he bought Instagram and then he bought WhatsApp. Without those two, he wouldn't be half of his net worth.
I heard Jeff Bezos got in trouble one time and he raised money.
He raised money, and also Jeff Bezos has bought at least 50 companies. Apple, people think Apple's just one company. If you look it up, they've bought over 60 companies. The second richest man in the world, Bernard Arnault, Louis Vuitton, he bought 60 companies. Elon Musk bought Tesla. He bought Twitter. So buying companies is the hardest. It's easy to mess up, but it's really where the most wealth is created.
Together we can and we must stand up for science. Thank you.
Oppression of women is not incidental to the Islamic regime in Iran. It is foundational to its ideology. Since 1979, the ideology of Ayatollah Khomeini has been rooted in an obsessive hatred of women. The regime fears the moral conscience of women, the leadership of women, and the freedom of women, because they know that women are the force that can push the Middle East forward. That is why they've led the world in the execution of women until today. That is why they shoot protesters in the eyes, to maim them, to break their spirit, to erase their power. That is why the sight of a woman's hair or a woman dancing threatens the very existence of the Islamic regime. Think of the thousands of Iranian women who have been imprisoned, tortured, raped, or killed simply for demanding to be treated as human beings. And think of what Hamas, an extension of this same hateful ideology, did on October 7th. The sexual violence we witnessed was not random. It was not just an act of brutality. It was strategic, it was ideological, and it was meant to send a message, not just to us, but to women across the world. But they're wrong. Because in this fight, there is no greater symbol of resistance to this darkness than an Israeli female soldier. There is nothing that shakes the very foundations of the Islamic Republic of Iran more than a Jewish woman in uniform carrying a rifle, defending her people and her homeland. Since the war began, more than 3,500 female IDF combat soldiers have fought on the front lines. They were there on October 7th, as you heard today, facing Hamas terrorists head on. Many paid the ultimate price that day, and since then, the women of the IDF have continued to step up, to serve with unwavering determination, knowing that the fight we wage is not just for Israel, but actually for the future of the region. They even took part in the IDF strikes on the Islamic regime targets inside of Iran. Think about the power of that moment. An Israeli female pilot, an Israeli female intelligence officer, an Israeli female commander helping to plan and execute attacks against the regime that has been terrorizing women for 45 years.
This man knows what he's talking about. Watch this.
You said, I'm from Africa. You are surprised that we from Africa worship a white man.
Yes.
And I said, you Muslims colonized many countries and you imposed Islam and a God from Arabia on those countries that you went. Allah was not known in Africa. It was known only in Arabia because Arabic language, right? The Jews never mention Allah in all their books. The best you can get close to is Elaha, which is not the same anyway. So, the name Allah is not known by any of the previous prophets. It's a new name, and according to the Torah, we don't need to follow a God that is not known by our forefathers. Now, for you to say, we Africans worship a white man, it shows you are ignorant. Why I'm saying you are ignorant, respectfully, is because Jesus is not from Europe. He's from Israel. They are not white people. The fact that some idiots make a picture of a white man and they bow to is against the Bible. So you don't call them Christians and you don't impose that on me. You don't know me from anywhere and you say I'm worshiping a white man. That's why I said I was offended.
If you enjoy content like this, follow or subscribe.
Don't own anything?
No land, no real estate, nothing.
Why?
Well, because for me, my number one priority in life is my freedom. And once you start buying things, first, it will tie you down to a physical location. And the second reason is I like to stay focused on what we do at Telegram. So I know that if I buy a house, if I buy a jet, something like that, I would be spending time trying to make it nice. And this will require a lot of time and effort.
Would you go with leather seats or velvet seats?
Exactly. And
you're not even going to choose.
Yes. For me, I would rather make decisions that would influence how a billion people communicate rather than choosing the color of seats in the house that only I and my relatives or probably a bunch of my friends will see.
President Donald Trump said that he would add new tariffs to his sanctions threat against Russia if the country does not make a deal to end its war in Ukraine. In a post on Truth Social, Trump said he is considering additional sanctions against Russia to force the country to negotiate an end to the 3-year conflict with Ukraine. The post reads,
based on the fact that Russia is absolutely pounding Ukraine on the battlefield right now, I am strongly considering large-scale banking sanctions, and tariffs on Russia until a ceasefire and final settlement agreement on peace is reached. To Russia and Ukraine, get to the table right now, before it is too late. Thank you.
Russia is far down the list, with U.S. imports from Russia falling to $2.9 billion through the first 11 months of 2024 from $29.6 billion in 2021. The U.S. imported $13.5 billion worth of Russian petroleum products in 2014, but this has fallen to zero after Ukraine war-related sanctions. Some other top import categories a decade ago, including semi-finished steel and pig iron, have also fallen to zero. The U.S. still imports significant amounts of Russian fertilizers used in agriculture, about $1.4 billion worth in 2023, as well as more than $1 billion each worth of uranium for nuclear power use and palladium and rhodium used in automotive catalytic converters.